Perhaps now in us experiencing Frozen Crown's EVERWINTER together, I will stop mixing up this track with Neverending. And I'm not sure, I think this has been the case, but I can't say for like 100% certainty if a experience of distortion and mix-up has appeared on the channel before in conjunction to previous Frozen Crown consultations. But when I think back on Crowned and Frost, their second album, if you're not familiar, we're looking at The Fallen King right now, in fact wrapping up this album and heading back into Crowned and Frost with the next video, but whenever I think back to Neverwinter and I mention it, there's always this period in the back of my mind where I get confused. Is it EVERWINTER, or Never Ending, or Neverwinter? In this case, this is why I'm mixing it up, because the titles are very similar in some respects, but now we're looking at EVERWINTER. I like that name, by the way, kind of going for a more frosty, cold vibe. It's you know, I think it fits with the Frozen Crown atmosphere, but it's a bit of an enchanting darkness, I think. I'm assuming we're going to have more of a emboldened, rough energy piece. We'll see. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm curious. That's kind of Frozen Crown's mainstay, and that's been a rather, recent, I'm working off recent knowledge is what I mean to say for those of you, and many of you perhaps are aware of that, right? Frozen Crown is still in an introductory phase in this channel. I'm getting a good perspective for them as a group, but going in, I've covered about 5 pieces thus far, and every one of them has been a joy to entertain, 3 of which off the present album, The Fallen King. I did take a bit of an interesting structure and I rewound because I started with Crowned and Frost. Given the release date, I just very democratic in the way that I approach the number of groups I have to consult on this channel, based a large part on your recommendations and some, of my personal discovery. As I've said many times, music very much for me is a prioritized first love in my life, and it's been a long-standing ambition to bring it into a grander focus on this channel, which over 2023, this is evolving quite well off of the last year, because it really started with 2022 for the most part. It's really taken precedence over the past 2 years, to be honest, but it's an honor to cover groups like as talented as Frozen Crown, and perhaps, maybe again, there's a variety of perspectives approaching this video. I'm very well knowledgeable of that. Some of you are long-standing Frozen Crown fans who I've had good interaction with in the past as well, and I need to get back to some of your comments presently, and I will probably by the time this video is published. Hopefully we'll see. I'm trying to get better caught up on things, and many of you know I have a tendency to be behind, not necessarily of my own making on most occasions, but there's a variety of angles we could be approaching this song together. Whether you happen to be a long-standing Frozen Crown fan, I do know there's a substantial number of you. They've got a good fan base, and they certainly deserve it. Or perhaps many of you are like me, and you're taking your first forays, into Frozen Crown, maybe still like in your earlier days, or perhaps this is going to be very much a first introduction, like it was for me at one point, back with Neverending. That was the first piece, in fact, that I spotlighted from them on this channel, even though I was familiarized to their talents on part of Giada Jade Etro earlier on through the Volturian collaboration of In a Heartbeat off the Crimson album. Volturian, if you're not familiar, Italian modern metal, highly recommend them. I've covered them, in fact, on this channel previously. And after that, I was like, I saw the connection point with Frozen Crown, being that's Giada's present group, and I'm like, okay, I gotta explore. And in this case, I've been very impressed. Italian power metal, if you're not familiar with them and you're getting that first introduction perspective with me, I think you're going to really like them, especially if you're a metalhead and you're into the European metal scene, which I've said many times is a wonderful atmosphere to entertain on this, not just on this channel, but in your own life as well. There's so many names I've recommended on this channel, and in part, I do cover, again, like I said, a wide scope of artists to be democratic and fair, and there's plenty of talents worldwide, many of which I haven't maybe even gotten to yet. I know some apply, at least in your number of recommendations you've provided, which I keep a master list on, and it's an exhaustive number of names, but I've already allocated a couple of names that fit into that. But it's been wonderful to entertain their works. And again, like I said, if you aren't familiar with them, expect going in rich vocals on part of Giada Jade Etro. Her accent truly is just mesmeric to listen to, and her emboldened power in her voice and her ferocity. It's genuinely enchanting. And her husband as well happens to be the guitarist here and on Volturian, and I believe one of the guitarists off of Be the Wolf. Maybe some coverage on them and coming in the future. It's another attached group. I believe they're hard rock, if I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong on that point. Again, we'll experience their works perhaps at a later date. But Federico Mondelli, I think you're going to like his vocal talents as well. He's got a substantial range from a good scream voice to a beautifully mesmeric and accent-driven ballad tonality, which is truly captivated me. He's very gifted as a singer. And rich riff styles on part of both vocalists, including Natalia Belazeca, who's really impressed me. And I believe as well, because I don't think I've mentioned it, there's a lot of Volturian connections actually in regards to this group, because at the time, I think they've changed the lineup now in present day, because we're on their 4th album, and we'll be getting to that in the future as well at some point. I'm working on it. Their lead percussionist, I believe, is a Volturian member as well. So again, like I said, there's plenty of connections to Volturian, so it just made sense to eventually happen upon Frozen Crown, as we have 5 works going into the 6th of EVERWINTER, and I can't wait to hear more with you. Again, this is going to be the first experience that we're enjoying this together, perhaps, or maybe for some of you, you're getting the perspective of somebody who you're already familiarized with this track and with this piece, because again, I dug back a number of years in regards to Frozen Crown's record. And library more so, but some of you are going to be getting a first impression perspective from me, right? Because this very much is a debut introduction. I'm sure it'll be a long-standing repeat listen. It's been the case for every track I've covered thus far. I'd love to hear, if you wish to disclose respective your angle down below and how you approach the video, by the way. I'd love to hear the good mix of perspectives, because it is, I think, quite a broad range that we can approach music and entertainment. It's part of what makes music as an art style so unique. I truly do admire that experience I've had with many of you, especially in having a shared, of sorts, experience. Though I can't necessarily see your faces, but I can certainly read your comments and your feedback. We have a fun time together, and it truly is, an honor in every sense of the word to spotlight groups as talented as Frozen Crown. There are many, and Frozen Crown, like I said, is just a perfect fit for the work I want to spotlight on this channel, not just as a talented European metal entity, but by their own strengths, they truly are gifted artists. So, let's broaden out our understanding of our library with EVERWINTER. And again, like I said, now I can probably stop mixing, for certainty, never ending in EVERWINTER. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and cue up the song. We have a video to accompany, as usual, for the most part, of how I've chosen the selection of tracks I want to cover on this channel. And for those of you who are not apprised as to how I format my work here, I do try and provide every accommodation I can to suit audience taste. And so for somebody that likes to read along with the narrative of the pieces, you proceed through a song, rather than having you, forcing you to go around looking for, a lyric site or whatever. I will have those provided for you in the video feed, and as soon as the video commences, you should see them pop up, and they'll track along with the song as we go or proceed through it. Alright, here we go. EVERWINTER. Solid interjection. Good blending of elements there. Again, that's a lot of, there's a lot of Frozen Crown mainstays in that. Oh, beautiful background riff on that too. Great dimension on the structure. I like this interlude pause we're taking. Again, it's a nice segue, but it's unexpected, because again, the song started on the vocal side. I like her softer pitch and delivery. Usually it's, again, like I said, a higher dominance of energy, but there's a frailty that swings in intentionally. It's really impressive. It's a wonderful work. Good climb, especially on the end. It adds a nice crescendo effect. We're only about halfway through the song. This one proceeds quickly, but it's interesting. How many times iterations of the chorus do we get? Just one more, okay. Interesting. Good overlap there. Nice break here too. But again, if there's gonna be a nice pause towards the last iteration of the chorus, I mean, this is a good effect for the song, I think, because again, it has a bit of a shorter feel. Oh, good intensity towards the end. Has such an effective pacing. And the chorus has such beautiful pitch changes as well. I have a feeling this track's going to grow into a particular favorite. Again, it's a variety that's so impressive to me. But it's a good helping in my mind, again, of what makes Frozen Crown so unique. How it's got solid pacing. It's so interesting because, again, the song has a bit of a shorter duration in comparison to some of the other works, at least I'm going to be looking at in this next phase of Frozen Crown Encounters. And it's the shortest, at least, of a lineup of what I'm considering presently with the Shield Maiden, Battles in the Night, and Forever. And the song mimics that. But it proceeds at just such a rapid pace. The structure of it, though, is really impressive to me. To begin it, at least on a smaller chorus, like it doesn't last for many seconds either. And then to do the verse break. And there's been other songs as well that have put the chorus in as the introduction to the song. But usually it's a little more sustaining. I like this. I like the quickened delivery here. I really do. And I think the song, like I said, is going to sit in quite well as an easy repeat listen. I told you it would be, but even now, having entertained it, if you're looking for a song that is a good compilation, especially on the harder side, because there's a variety of respects that a group can touch on. And Frozen Crown has exercised a good range of abilities in different scopes, right? You might, especially in the metal scene, you might have plenty of groups experiment around with maybe a softer delivery, or they might go for more intense head thrashing type experience, which is what I normally go for. Again, longtime metalhead fan that definitely gravitates to the headbanging, aggressive sorts of songs. Though I'm open again to any genre, perhaps even, or specific metal style. Again, I keep an open door because you oftentimes might not necessarily know what works you might think of at first glance. You're like, it doesn't necessarily fit, where I would immediately jump to. But then you listen to the piece and you're like, wow, this is actually really good. Again, always keep an open door perspective, at least in my opinion. That's how I approach life in general, for the most part. This piece employs, I think, every strong element of Frozen Crown on the more aggressive side. Giada's vocals and her range, the pacing of the vocals as well is a bit different here than some of the other works, at least of what I've entertained thus far, where her voice or the words tend to linger a bit more, especially on the chorus. There's such swift delivery. It's mandated because it matches perfectly well to the percussion work, which is greatly emphasized. I love how it mixed in with maybe some of the harder riffs. The elevated guitar pitches, especially on the break sections, which are placed very well. Given the song has a shorter duration, especially on a lyrical scope regard, at least it has that illusion. No, it really is. But it's just such an interesting experience to listen to, quite frankly. I find it to be, out of their works, again, there's not a piece of music that I've not covered on this channel that I've not liked entertaining at all. And they've all been great re-listens, but whatever artist it applies to. I'm reflecting on my thoughts with the previous 5 works, and all have been great from Frozen Crown. Again, I've loved each one of them, and I've listened to them on part of each track several times now. This is probably going to be the one that, at least for me presently, is such a dominant presence because of its uniqueness. And again, like I was saying, if you want a good baseline to set for yourself an approach of Frozen Crown, especially on the aggressive side, this piece has everything. The pacing, the emphasis, the vocal talent, the strength. It's truly satisfying. It's an all-around good compilation, I feel, of everything that makes Frozen Crown so special. But it's done in this, at least some part of the way I feel about it, unsuspected way, given the structure delivery. and the differences from what might be normally familiarized in pattern. Everywinter is truly an exquisite piece, in my opinion. And I admire, sometimes you might be like, oh, I'd love a longer duration of it. This one, I think it fits. Again, it has, like I said, in comparison to some of the other works I've listened to off of The Fallen King, all those other songs tend to be a little longer sustained. This changes the lineup a bit in feeling, especially since this is the, I believe, hang on a minute. I'm confirming this. Yeah, it's the second to last song, and then Neverstorm follows. If this were the concluding work, which it's not, but if it were, I think it'd be an excellent wrap-up. At the very least, it seems to me like to be a good Temptation lead-in for Neverstorm, to be that conclusion, to bring the album together. This one just really impresses me. I mean, again, like I said, it has such an individual presence, at least in the way that I regard it, that just stands out in my mind. Every piece from Frozen Crown has, but I really admire this one. I can't wait to hear more of it in terms of my own listens to it. I'm sure for many of you this is going to be a first introduction to their work. I would hope this piece compels you to look deeper. Like I said, this is a great blending of every trait, at least on the more aggressive side, and what I've heard Frozen Crown boast at this point. This brings everything together. It truly is a nice unifying work in that respect. So if you're looking for a good field of vision, again, on a first approach, Everwinter provides that. And I hope it compels you to look deeper with their work. Again, they are worth exploring in a greater depth, which we'll be doing on this channel in conjunction to... This is wrapping up our experiences thus far with The Fallen King, as I said, and Crowned in Frost. We're going to return to it next, because I started there, and then continue on to the more recent debuts from them. For the most part, with a good track selection of each album thus far. But I really liked this piece, and I hope you did too. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Again, like I said, if you wish to provide feedback on it, whether it be to Frozen Crown, or as I said earlier, the angle you come from in approaching their works. Are you a fresh listener, or are you very knowledgeable on Frozen Crown's offerings at this point? My suspicion would be that among Frozen Crown listeners, this is one of the stronger tunes, at least in your mind. Again, I'm sure many of you admire every piece you've heard by Frozen Crown. They deserve, again, such high regard as they've gotten from their fan base, from what I'm familiarized to and how large it is. But I mean, I'm going to go on a limb and say this is probably one that's stuck in the minds of everybody. It will for me. I'm part of that structure. It just feels so individualistic in comparison to some of the other works. Not necessarily in lyrical vision or storytelling or even just in presence, but it's this structure. It experiments around with, I think, again, the familiarized with Frozen Crown in a way that it feels so faithful to them, but it has such a personal identity on part of its pacing and its presence, given the way it's framed, that I find it just stands out significantly. I think Everwinter is a strong listen, and it definitely, I will say, is because of the individual presence, I should have a much easier time no longer mixing up Never Ending and Everwinter. We'll see. Time will tell. Maybe I'll make the mistake again. Who knows? But I liked it. It's one of the stronger pieces from them, and I can't wait to continue on a deeper extent with a number of you to their more recent offerings. Next up, as I said, Crowned in Frost. We're going to return to that through Battles in the Night. That's up next. But Everwinter really is a standout track from them. And again, as I've said many times, it's an honor to cover a group like Frozen Crown. I've been truly impressed by their offerings. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.